And good evening. Your host, Paul Vanderwerf with Ridgecrest Talk. Great Monday night. I think it's our first Monday night without Monday Night Football for the season.
Yeah.
And I'm here talking with our guests from the Sierra Desert Gun Club, Bob Gould and, give me a help, Lloyd Plett. Lloyd, I said I was not going to forget your name, and I almost forgot it there. But we're talking gun safety, and we have a couple different programs that you guys do. Bob, why don't you just start off, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about your group.
Well, I'm Bob Gould. I've been in the Sierra Desert Gun Club for forever. In the early 60s, we had several clubs in town. The Ridgecrest Gun Club, which was primarily high-power rifle and NRA-style pistol, and the China Lake Rifle and Pistol Club, which was small-bore rifle. And a number of us found ourselves officers in both clubs. So in about 1962, I think it was, we combined the two clubs into one and had a naming contest for the new club. It became the Sierra Desert Gun Club, and then we incorporated it as a California nonprofit corporation. And we've been under that title for all that time. So I've been an officer in the club or in a management of it for 54 years. So I'm getting ready to retire.
One of these days. And that's one of the stories that we see again and again here in the valley is people come to the desert for the job.
Yeah.
They end up having some extra time that they get whatever hobbies they get interested in, and then those hobbies continue after retirement.
Yeah.
So 53 years or more
Yeah.
is since before I was born.
Yeah.
And so that's
youngster.
right, and so that's a great part of history. That it's great to be able to sit down and talk about some of that, so we don't lose that.
Yeah.
It's real easy to lose those documents, and we lose the oral tradition, and nobody remembers the history.
Well, until I joined the club, I was just an occasional plinker, and joined the club and got interested in competitive shooting, and that was my main recreation for many years. Did fairly well at it. So.
All right, and what are the key parts of your programs that you guys have that you want to let people know about? Well,
we have coming up immediately is our annual basic rifle marksmanship school. And that runs 10 afternoons, weekends, starting out the first 3 weekends, Saturday and Sunday, try to beat the windy season. And then after that, it's on Sunday afternoons from 1 until 4:30. So it doesn't interfere with people's church commitments, and usually warmer that time of day. And in that school, we cover basic rifle marksmanship, and we provide the rifles, the ammunition, targets, all the necessary equipment, and we charge the students $50 each, which is extremely cheap considering the cost of .22 ammunition now. And each student will be firing somewhere between 300 and 400 rounds of ammunition. And we teach the prone, sitting, kneeling, standing positions, trigger control, breath control, use of a sling, sight picture, sight alignment, just basic rifle marksmanship. Not plinking, but marksmanship. But our primary product is safety and responsibility. We really hit hard on safety and safety.
So that first program is just basic marksmanship, which is basically somebody who has no experience but has an interest.
Yeah.
They don't have to have any background.
No.
They just come in with an open mind and paying attention.
That's right.
For the safety side.
And we have people with some background too that come in and learn more. And we have youngsters that will take them 12 years and older. The oldest student we had was 74. She was a widow, and her husband didn't believe in shooting, so when she became a widow, she joined our marksmanship school. And we never asked her how she became a widow, but she was a delightful lady, and she had a ball.
And then what else do you do besides the basic marksmanship? You have some other programs that you do also?
Yeah, our hunter education program. We teach California Certified Hunter Education. We have a class coming up in mid-May and then another one in mid-August. We can handle up to 40 students at a time. And we have 6 instructors that we teach as a team. Mr. Plett has been with shooting for, or an instructor for 35 years. and I'm 40 plus years at Hunter Education now.
And that's all here in the valley for
That's
the last
all
40
here
years.
in the valley, yeah.
So in other words, if we got some young people watching, if their parents grew up in the valley and they're hunters, they probably took your course 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Most likely. Sometimes I am approached by people who I don't recognize, and I guess my expression says, "Who are you?" And they say, "Well, you don't remember me." And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't. But, well, you taught me Hunter Education when I was 12 years old." And this guy had gray hair. So it made me feel ancient, but at least I was remembered.
Those gray-haired kids, right?
Yeah.
And then the other program would be you actually have competitions, right?
Yes, yeah, we have a small bore rifle, which is 22 rimfire, a prone match at 50 yards and 100 yards, and we also have a 4-position match, which is all fired at 50 feet. You shoot in a prone, sitting, kneeling, and standing positions. And it's all with what we call iron sights, or you can, in some of the matches, you can use scope sight too. It all depends on the match conditions. We also shoot 22 rimfire metallic silhouette, which we're shooting at, it's a shooting gallery type of thing, where you have small steel targets set up on, on rails, and you have to knock them off the rail in order to get a hit. And we shoot chickens at 40 meters, have pigs at 60 meters, turkeys at 77 meters, and bighorn sheep at 100 meters. Now, at 100 meters, at over 100 yards, the bighorn sheep is that tall, and it's all fired in standing positions. It's
just looks like a little silhouette.
It's challenging. Yeah, right. They're little steel silhouettes.
All right, so we got kind of the basics. We're going to talk some more about that. Yep. We got the basic marksmanship and safety. Then we have hunter safety, yep, which is a larger class that goes over what you need to do to safely hunt in California.
Right.
And then we have generally weekend competitions.
Right. Saturday mornings.
All right. And then we're going to be going to break for a little bit. Lloyd, we're going to come back to you and get to know you a little bit better. But why don't you just introduce yourself real briefly to the audience. Tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Lloyd. I came here in the Navy in 1975. That was my shore duty, was VX5 after spending some time in the fleet. After I got out of the Navy.
Cut you off real quick. Starting with the Navy. We're ready for break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. Well, 8 minutes goes fast.
Yeah, it does.
The whole thing goes quick. I remember Tom would just And we're back with Ridgecrest Talk, your host Paul Vanderwerf. Tonight we're talking gun safety with the Sierra Desert Gun Club. Lloyd Plett. Lloyd, we were just getting ready to introduce yourself when we went to break, but you were talking about coming over, working active duty Navy, so you actually got sent over here rather than volunteering?
Right, this was shore duty here at VX5. It was VX5 in those days. And when my enlistment was up in 1976, went home for 6 months to reacquaint with my folks, and then came back out here, got a job at Echo Range. It's electronics tech. Basically been doing that ever since. I retired this last May. So I had 42 years of service, federal government, active and civil service. I figured it's time to do some of my projects. Part of that is shooting and working on my guns, getting them clean, getting them, fixed up the way I like them to be. Plus the honeydews, there's honeydews. Don't mind that, but I just love the valley. I just love the desert. I grew up in Oklahoma where it's green, where there's rivers and creeks everywhere. But the first day I drove into the valley, I just fell in love with it. It was a Saturday morning about 9 o'clock in October, and coming north out of the Four Corners, I love this place. I really do. Can't explain it, but there it is.
Right. Back in '76, I was living on the base back then, and it seemed like even if you look at the water use, we had a lot of water on the base. Everybody had their yards, and it was that little green oasis over on the base. And now even though we've been using all that water, we don't have as many people now, but we're really concerned about how much water we're using in the valley, and it's not quite as green as it was, but in a sense, it's more green that we have more trees all over. Like, for example, up at Saracosa, we have all the greenery up there that we didn't have back in the day. But gun safety, we were talking before the show a little bit. So some of the examples that I think of right away was, there's something on the internet this week, a police chief in Georgia had, in his sleep, went to move his pistol and accidentally shot his wife. And you think, how in the world could that happen for somebody who's a trained professional?
Well, that's a horrible kind of thing, and you see it.
Yeah.
And some of the times our biggest problem are old guys like us who have been shooting all of our life. We get complacent. We think, well, I've got this down. I've got this all figured out. I'm good at this. And we forget to keep on top of ourselves with always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction. There's no excuse not to do that. Always treat every gun like it's loaded. Always keep your finger off the trigger till you know what your target is and what's beyond it and you're ready to shoot. These basic things that we teach in our classes are things that we have to keep reminding ourselves of too, because we're not immune to doing something stupid. And it's a tragic and it's a horrible thing, but we have to keep on top of ourselves so that we don't goof up in the ways that we're telling these young folks and the new shooters not to goof up.
Right, and interesting, I mean, some of the statistics and the things that we were talking about, I was actually surprised at it, and Bob, we had talked about this. I would be under the impression, just as the population is growing in California, that we would have lots more hunters, and it would be more important for education, and it would be more important to make sure that everybody was trained. But what are those numbers like now? How many hunters do we have out there?
I'm not sure what it currently is, but it's probably around a couple 100,000, where it used to be over 500,000.
So the numbers are actually declining in California.
Yes, they are. It's just in some people's minds, hunting is not politically correct. They lose track of the fact that hunting is used as a conservation tool. You're harvesting the animals that would die over the winter anyway. It's above the carrying capacity of the habitat. So you're harvesting those animals and using them for food, where otherwise they just die due to starvation, because the habitat can't support that many animals that are born in the spring and live through the summer. So it's a major conservation tool.
So right there, it just tells me, not being a hunter myself, the first thing is like, oh, I'm not just learning about how to handle the rifle, I'm actually learning about the whole ecological system, the animals, and kind of a lot more than just going out and shooting a quail or a pheasant or something.
Yeah, our hunter education classes are much more than just, it used to be hunter safety. Now it's hunter education. We include, all about rifles, pistols, shotguns, how to work, and laws, regulations, wilderness survival, care and cleaning of equipment, care and cleaning of game, safety, 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 responsibility. We remind our students that anybody within range of the firearm you have in your hands is depending on you for their lives. When you have a firearm in your hand, you have a tremendous responsibility that you've got to live up to. It doesn't do any good to say, oops, I'm sorry.
And with a deer hunting rifle, that can be 3 to 5 miles.
Well, just imagine yourself in the middle of a circle that's 7 or 8 miles in diameter. If you have a high-power rifle, everybody in that circle is looking to you to use it safely.
Now, is the hunter, if I'm an adult and I want to go hunting, is that hunter safety class required or is it recommended?
It is required in all states, and you get a hunter safety certificate if you pass our class. That's good for life. You have to present that to get a license in any U.S. state or province of Canada. So it's a lifetime thing. We have people who lose them and come back to us and want us to reissue them. We have records back to 1978, classes we taught. And I just recently had a request for a renewal of a certificate that was issued in 1984 to a 12-year-old. So I'll be filling out that paperwork this week and get them a new certificate. So,
yeah, it's kind of cool that you have those records. I remember I went diving and got, what do they call it, dry suit certified as a scuba diver in 1988.
Yep.
And being in the desert, we're not diving a whole lot out here. But I found myself in Thailand And sure enough, they were able to pull up that record from 1988 and say, yes, this person has been
certified.
properly, safely trained that
Yeah.
he can go ahead and do this activity without hurting himself with other people with him. And obviously that's real important with gun safety. How do you measure the success? Do you actually keep the statistics, or do you have an idea? Is it much safer going through the safety course?
Well, yeah, we have statistics from when the hunter safety program started in California 50 years ago, 1954. That year there was over 130 casualties, of which about 35 of them were fatal. Currently we're running about 17 to 18 total casualties a year and 1 to 2 fatal. Well, there was a period in the mid-1990s that we thought we had it made. We had 3 years in a row there were 0 fatalities. But then reality came back to us, and unfortunately we lose 1 or 2 a year. Some of them self-inflicted. I don't consider any of them accidents.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go back to a commercial break. Be right back. Yeah. And we're back, Ridgecrest Talk. Your host, Paul Vanderwerf. The Sierra Desert Gun Club right here in the Indian Wells Valley. Been around for over 50 years. Bob Gould is one of our people with just tons of experience, and Lloyd Plett with only maybe 35 or 40 years experience. It's like you said, when the young guys are gray-haired, you know.
Just getting started.
It's been a while. But you were talking a little bit about gun safety and some of the accidents. Why don't we continue with that real briefly?
Okay. Well, a lot of people, when they hear about hunting accidents, they think about a high-power rifle, deer hunting. But actually, the statistics show that about 3 out of 4 occurrences occur with a shotgun at relatively close range. The reason is that shotgun is usually used for a fast-moving animal, a rabbit or a deer or a duck or a quail or pigeon or a dove, and people don't pay attention to what we call a safe zone of fire. You know, when you are out hunting, you have to be aware of your situation all around you. It's too late after a bird flies to tell whether it's a safe shot or not. You have to determine that as you're walking and as you're hunting. You have to keep your eyes alert. You have to keep your ears tuned to unusual sounds, the sounds of people. You have to be aware that you're not close to a dwelling. California law says you cannot discharge a firearm within 150 yards of a dwelling. You have to be aware the whole time. And it's a situation where it's a sport where you don't have a referee following you out with a striped shirt. You have to be your own referee.
That's right.
And if you're out with a group of hunters and one of them does something that's unsafe, it's our responsibility to speak up and try to correct that person. If they can't be corrected, don't ever go hunting with them again. You do not go out with people you don't trust, because it can be a bad thing. If you make a mistake and injure or kill a person, that's something you have to live with the rest of your life. It would not be a comfortable thing to live with. So.
Right, so we're dealing with responsibility, and obviously an ounce of prevention is worth the pound of cure.
Yep.
And so in dealing with that, let's get into the details of this basic maintenance or basic marksmanship class that we have coming up. When is that? How do people get signed up? Let's get the people.
We will have a sign-up table in the lobby of Kerr McGee Center on Saturday the 17th of January. We'll be there from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. And we can handle 10 students, 12 at the most, to get them on the firing line, have everybody with equipment to shoot. So the first class will be on the 24th and 25th of January. The first 3 weekends will be Saturday and Sunday afternoons, starting at 1 p.m. ending about 4:30.
So they're signing up at the Kerr-McGee Center, which is the
Be
lobby.
signing up at Kerr-McGee, right in the lobby.
Is.
We'll have a table there, and
But the classes aren't held there, though, are they?
No, classes are held at the Sierra Desert Gun Club range, which is on the Ridgecrest Gun Range Association complex out on South Brown Road.
Okay, so that's the Brown Road going out towards Inyokern.
Right.
And then to get that information, you would sign up, and then you'd get the
we'll give
details
them a map and instructions on how to get there.
And what's the minimum age? I mean, I can't go out there as a 5-year-old, right?
12.
All right, so if you're 12 or older,
Yeah.
and you have some responsibility, obviously for a 12-year-old, the parent has to give permission.
Yes.
And the parent's only going to have a responsible
we have to
young
have
adult.
We have to
involved.
have written permission of the parent or legal guardian in order to furnish them with a firearm and ammunition. Otherwise, we'd be in violation of the penal code.
Right, and that $50 is real reasonable. I mean, normally a round of 22 is maybe 5 cents, but good luck finding one.
Yeah, right.
I've heard people pay as much as 20 cents a round, and you're basically firing off maybe $40 worth of ammunition for the $50 class.
And we, at the end of the class, if they successfully complete it, they get a 1-year membership in the Sierra Desert Gun Club. So that's a $30.
Now, do you guys have regular meetings?
We haven't had general meetings. We have a business meeting every third Tuesday of the month at my home.
That's a pretty small group then.
Yeah, that's usually 10 to 12 people. It's the executive committee of the board of the club.
Right. Now, for the people that have heard about this, they've taken their notes. They want to get more information. You have a press release that's probably going to go in the local papers?
Yes, I put a release in a Daily Independent today. It should be published sometime this week.
Right. And what about on the internet? Is there any access that way?
We have a website on the internet that Mr. Plett is more familiar with than I am. So,
the address is sierradesertgunclub.org, and on that page we have schedules, we have our matches, and we have a lot of information about the club. Anybody wants to learn more about our club and about what we do and who the officers are and what our range schedule is, should go to that. So it's all lowercase, sierradesertgunclub.org.
All right, so Sierra
Sierra Desert
Gunclub.org,
right.
Yes.
And then you can actually look and really find a lot more about the organization, because you can see the calendar events, you can see when you're having the competitions, and we didn't talk too much about the competitions, but Lloyd, just briefly, what are the types of competitions that you guys have?
Well, we have handgun and rifle competitions of a variety of sorts. Mostly it's what the club members want. If enough club members say we want this kind of a competition, we set it up and we do it. We do have several that are repeating and scheduled. Bob shared some of those, the small bore. We also have military rifle type competitions, the CMP, that sort of thing. We have several handgun type competitions.
Are those typically just local residents, or do you have people that travel from all over?
It's both, really. We have members who live out of town, because our dues and our facilities are superior to many that folks down in LA have available to them. And they're well ahead even just with the money for the weekend driving up here to shoot, other than trying to shoot at some of the ranges down there because they're so expensive. But it's both. What we offer is a safe, regulated place to shoot. I know a lot of folks, including myself, do a lot of desert shooting. But what we have is a safe, controlled, regulated place to shoot. We only allow shooting when we have one of our club range masters present, and that's every Saturday. 2 to 3 times a month we'll have our matches, and the Saturdays where we don't have a match, it's an open range day. We'll have a range master on site for members and their guests, and folks can come out, do their own practicing, their own sighting in, whatever they want to do.
We're pretty much out of time. I mean, there's a ton of information with your group.
Yes.
Hopefully people that are interested will get out there and get connected. And thank you very much, Ridgecrest Talk. Have a great evening.